Okay, I am super excited. I am getting to host one of the behind the scenes with our national award winners. If you guys were part of our last Tuesday webinar in January, we announced the winners of the national contest. And I'm going to tell you, we had competition. But I am taking this moment, and I'm going to do this several times to encourage you when you see a contest to enter it. Because I always say, I can guarantee you won't win if you don't enter. So, what we did, we announced the winners in January, and we have gotten in a habit of having these behind the scenes look because you learn a lot. I mean, you can hear the obstacles, the challenges, get some tips. So, I'm super excited about today. I am hosting, let me get this changed, one of our winners. And let me tell you, take a minute and just tell you exactly how the winners were selected. So, with this in mind, and I'm going to move that down so it doesn't block everybody, there was a panel of 5 judges. I promise you that entry names remained anonymous. Nobody knew who anybody was. One person put them together, and then the panel judged. And of course, in case you're wondering what the criteria for a winner was, first of all, major transformation, but you had to implement those design principles and those rules that we talk about so much. And you know what? Not breaking a bunch of rules. Sometimes we have to, but usually there's a reason. So there's a couple winners in a few of the categories, and that was because we had so many entries. We finally just said, based on the large number this year, that we could pick 2 winners in a couple categories. What's really nice for all the winners is they have bragging rights forever. So, and trust me, I do. I've won in the past years ago. I can't enter, of course, now. Um, you get to bring this up a lot. So it's a really nice perk. It's a great way, something for you to include in your bios. And all the winners that you will meet in the behind the scenes sessions are featured on the DSA side, on our groups, anywhere that we can also brag on them, we're going to. Besides that, they got press releases and that they get to be featured in the directory. They get a year's membership for free. So, the first category we're going to talk about is our home staging occupied. So, if you're a stager, you're going to love this one. And then, even if you're a decorator or you just love watching transformation, you'll see, get some really good tips on what this winner had to overcome. And this winner is Kate Martyniak, and I'm going to tell her to go live right now so you can just hear exactly from her what she had to overcome. Hey, Katie.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh gosh, listen. And I promise you guys, no, none of us who judged knew the entries. So, Katie, tell them a little bit about you.
So I actually worked for Sandra, so that's how I got involved in this whole business, and I was kind of her office gal, and I was really intrigued by what she did, and she would bring me along every once in a while in the beginning, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. So one day I said, I want to take your class. So I got certified myself, and this was one of the first stagings I did by myself, and I was really proud. It was a whole house, so it was really almost overwhelming to me, but I never let them see me sweat. but it was a big house. It was 6 bedrooms, so it was a big home, but I think we did a wonderful job, and I'm so happy and honored to have won for this room because it literally is one of my favorite rooms I have ever done at this point.
So Katie is in Park City, and I will pop her phone number up again at the end. But if you're in that area, you might want to get her help. um, oh my gosh, this is what you started with, right?
So we started with this, and the closet is kind of off to the left or to the right. And it was a really hard picture to take, but it is stuffed full. They knew I was coming, and I think they pretty much took everything out of the room and stuffed these closets. I was like, oh my gosh, it was very overwhelming. But yeah, so basically the door is right here where you can see the desk. So you walked into the room and the desk was right there, and then the bed was off to the left, and then they had these weird like decals up on the wall, and they had artwork, but the artwork was sort of all over the house, or as you can see laying on the bed. They were in a state of sort of moving out, so there was things sort of everywhere. And one of the nice things about this house is because things were everywhere, I kind of shopped the house quite a bit.
So
So
Katie, what is this on the wall?
it's a decal. So there were these decals, and I'm not really sure what it is. I don't know what purpose it serves, but there were several of them all over the house, like in all the rooms. And I don't know if like one of their kids, this family had 8 children ranging from 5 to like 22. And so I'm not really sure if one of the kids created those and then they put them all up in their rooms or what, but they were everywhere. They came off very easily, thank goodness. So but I guess I'll just dive into it. To talk about the house a little bit. This house, they called me first. It had not been listed. I'm sure their agent probably gave them a direction to say that, you'd probably benefit from a home staging. So they did call me, but I never actually spoke with the agent. I only spoke with the homeowner. When I went in and talked to them, they had never done anything like this before. So the mom was very open and in, and she was like, yes, help me, please. The the husband was, of course, very, how much is this going to cost? How long are you going to be here? Are you going to be in my space? That type of stuff. But he was open to it because they had already purchased a home where they were going. So they really wanted to sell this house. And even though the market in Park City is usually pretty good, this was at a time where it wasn't, things weren't moving quickly, I should say. So they really wanted it to move quickly. So my goal is always to go into a house. I love to use what is in the home. I also love, Sandra knows this about me, I love to flip a comforter. So I'll always look at both sides of a comforter and be like, can I use that? Or can I use it somewhere else? Like if it's say it has flowers on one side, but the other side is beige, I'm like, perfect. So, to save the homeowner money, because then they're going to give my name to other people. Like, this lady was great, but she didn't buy a lot of stuff, save me money, etc. So, we did have 6 bedrooms to decorate or to home stage. So we were able to make this room very specific and not like have to be a guest room or something. We could make it like a boys room. So that was really nice. One of the biggest challenges I had is this was about 2 weeks previous to Christmas. So they had Christmas stuff everywhere, not just like in the dining room and the living room. They had it in the kitchen. They had it in the bedrooms. There were garlands everywhere. There were, someone had gone with like tape and taped up like their favorite Christmas ornaments on walls, which is lovely for yourself if you're, it's your Christmas. But when you're trying to sell a home during the holidays, it's probably appropriate to have it in the living room, but not everywhere. Excuse me. And then also with 8 children, as you can imagine, in the wintertime, coming in and out with school and snow, there were book bags everywhere. I think they had 2 in college and the rest were in high school and junior high. And there were little mittens everywhere and hats and boots and sleds and all kinds of stuff. So it was the clutter was real. And like I had stated before, they hired me to do the whole home, which was really nice because then I was able to use everything in the whole home. And you have such a sense of accomplishment when you're hired to do the whole thing and you walk into what it was and then you walk into what you did and you're like, oh, and you see the pictures online, you're like, I did that. So it was very gratifying for one of my first, I was proud of myself, I should say.
Well, I
For
was
one of my
proud.
first.
And that's a really good point too, Katie just made about those professional photos. With those MLS photos, you do need to have permission to use them, but you can hire a lot of people hire professional photographers to come in. Katie just happens to take really good pictures too. I do not, but we have Photoshop and stuff. I mean, not Photoshop, but like Lightroom and some apps. But having that professional look makes a big difference.
Right. So to talk about the budget a little bit, I was so budget conscious because I got the vibe from the dad, like I mentioned before, that he really was like, I don't think he was like a penny counter, a bean counter, but he just, they had 8 kids. So they have a budget and they're so I really was very conscious of that when I was shopping and doing everything else. And the nice thing is that they had a garage full of stuff. It literally was like going to Home Goods because they had extra pillows and extra rugs and extra pictures. And, all of that was at my disposal. They said I could use anything. So when I originally went shopping, I did shop for all the rooms with extra stuff so that I didn't have to go back and forth to Home Goods. I shopped one time, and as Sandra teaches in all her classes, it's better to overshop than undershop because you can always return, and that way it saves everybody's time because I don't have to go back to the store. So I overshopped and I shopped for every single solitary room and used a combination of what I bought and what they had in the home. So for the entire home, I ended up actually spending about $400. But for this room in particular, it cost me just right around $200. And that was just for some bedding and some stuff like that. So,
I am glad that Katie was paying attention in class. But that's a good point too. If you don't have an inventory, and some of you do warehouse and you're shopping your own warehouse. This was a great project because you literally were using that same comfort zone shopping list or whatever you have developed and going to the store. So
right.
you're not having to use the warehouse, but you are shopping. So
Yeah, I
here's
mean, I don't personally have anything in warehouse. I do have some things that I have kept from previous shopping trips because I'm like, this is such a cool piece that I just kind of save it and maybe I'll use it or maybe I'll use it in my own home. But so this was the end product to the picture or to the room. And so one of the biggest things we did is that bed was huge. It is so solid and so big that it really was the focal point of the room. And it needed to be obviously turned so that when you walked in the room, it was more like, oh, than kind of, huh. And so what we did is I turned the bed and then I tuck the comforter in so that the bed sort of became a piece of art because it is beautiful and it was very well made. So being tucked in, it became a piece of art with all the wood. And then the David Bowie picture, really was such a good focal point for the wall. It ate up 2/3. The color scheme was perfect. I was able to get these little blue pillows that match that comforter really well. And on the left hand side, the second box was one of theirs, and I bought the box underneath. And so I was able to kind of make that their end table. And he had 2 end tables on either side, but the room is not particularly big. So it just felt heavy to have one on either side. And so in conjunction to that, because the backboard or the headboard to the bed covered that chair rail, I tried a taller lamp there because really it should have been taller, of course, but it felt very heavy in that corner. So that's why I went back to that lamp that kind of had that airy feel and was a little shorter to sort of just really honor that bed, because the bed really, like, to me, felt like it became a piece of art in the room. And then that table, the desk that he had there, he actually had coming in, which it was right there. Like, you walk through that door and that desk was right there. But I was lucky because I didn't have to buy any furniture, because the bed, there's the iron in the bed and the wood in the bed. And then you got the desk that has the iron and the wood. So that really came good. It came out very nice. And then Over on the right hand side, there's that guitar hanging there. That guitar was professionally hung like that. And so I was like, I'm not touching that. So I had to honor it and say, that is going to stay there and how I'm going to make this work. So they had this lovely picture of this artist, Kurt Cobain. I wouldn't have chose someone smoking a cigarette because, as we all know, we remove things like that, but it really worked with the David Bowie over the bed and the guitar. So because they work together. So when it was all said and done, it's literally still one of my favorite rooms. And if I had a boy, that would be my boy's room.
And I like what you said too, because just opening up that space and allows that by having the David Bowie, we keep referring that 2/3 of the space, it lifted your eye, and
Right.
then your eye kind of tracks left or right also. So let me refresh your memory. Here is the before and after together. And you didn't paint at all, right?
I didn't paint it all, and it's funny because the lights are on in both pictures, but I don't know. And I use the same camera as Sandra. So I'm not really sure why the light looks that much different. It could have just been a different time of day is probably the best theory on that. But yeah, he had like some weird decals on the wall. And then you can see over on the right that professionally hung guitar, which hurt my heart. He was hanging coats on. I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, see it right here?
You can see the coats hanging on it, and you can see how the desk was right here and the bed was turned the other way, which probably for him living there worked for whatever he wanted it to work for, because what my understanding is he was a guitarist, so he probably sat at that stool and played guitar, and that was a nice little
After he took the clothes off.
after he took the clothes off, right? I don't know, but yeah, I mean, just really turning that bed and putting that big picture up there, it really changed the dynamic of that room. It made it feel so much more. I don't want to use like the word calm, but it really did. You just walked in and you went, "This is a nice bedroom," and so I was really pleased with how it turned out.
And one other good point too, because you have that contrast from the wall color to the matte in the artwork over the bed, that's the other thing. Contrast really tracks your eye. So that made your eye go up and gave you a relief from, I think that's one reason this room may feel a little bit brighter too. I know that it's the time of day, but now we've got a contrast up above. So my eye kind of is enjoying that depth.
Well, and the
So
nice thing is that the Bowie picture, you can't see it so much in here, but the Bowie picture, some of his uh, features on his face actually are this color of in the comforter, the blue and the
oh
gray,
yeah,
the beige. See the red ones in
yeah.
the center, and then all the ones around it have that. And so they really played on each other. And then the comforter nicely sort of calms down that color of the wall that could have been a little bit yellow
Right.
had we gone a different direction.
But by having that one little stripe every so often, that made it kind of coordinate into your color story. This is a really good room that I like for it. Less is more. You know how we say that in staging? I mean, it's two pieces of art. I mean, count the guitar if you want three. I mean, it's very simple. It's not even a ton of accessories. And I think that was one of the comments one of the judges made. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, if you had a bigger budget, but this is what our jobs entail, guys, using what you have, flipping something over if you have to. Not all of our staging projects get to have big budgets. So less is more. So in case you guys want to reach out to Katie, here's her contact information. And then last but not least, we want to encourage you to connect with us. So anybody can join the directory. We could be part of our Facebook groups, our on-demand learning. Here's our DSA website. And if you have any questions, you can always give us a call. This is what the National Directory looks like. Here's Carol Bass's feature. You can have hyperlinks to your social media sites, your website. So again, Katie, thank you for taking
Thank
us
you for
behind the
having me.
scenes.
Thank you so much.
All right, look for our other ones, our other winners to share.